request to voters and taxpayers regarding a addition remodel to the high school. There is a theme to this request, which is 518 committed, and a great deal of information is located on the 518committed.com website. So if not everything is answered at this point, or you need further information, one, you can go to the website and look at it. There is an FAQ, or frequently asked questions, or you can look to contact myself or one of the school board members. So with that, when we were looking at this, the reason why a bond referendum and addressing the high school is kind of one of the last pieces of the puzzles that needs to be put together. But it was identified as educational space needs and a deferred maintenance improvement of the high school. So with that, those are the two key points that are identified. And when we go on to the challenges, our challenges exist. The building lacks single stall privacy restrooms, which has become very common in the majority of a lot of public buildings. The metal panel and aluminum windows on the north wing of this building, which is the one that jets towards the north. And if you get the opportunity, there are some examples on the tripods up here or in the hallway. But it would be to replace aluminum windows and metal panels, as well as various finishes that need to be addressed, including flooring, paint, ceiling, and then replacement of some doors, casework, hardware, and lockers. In this process, we would also look at, as we're doing this, address existing sections of roofing in the replacement. I think we skipped something, but maybe not. So those are kind of the primary pieces. Overall, the district has worked hard to understand the facility needs, and then over the years have asked for feedback and input, and we've worked to prioritize the building improvements, probably as early as back in 2008, 9, 10. So the referendum, if approved, the district plans to invest a total of $33.8 million. That's the estimate in key educational spaces, deferred maintenance improvements to the existing high school. And the total bond referendum request to voters is $15.3 million. So more of our challenges, we're in need of some additional general ed classrooms, as well as space to support CTE, or career and technical education. We currently lack some science space or lab, primarily lab. We have one full lab and not what they term now dry labs. The third bullet there, the kitchen and serving area was not originally built to serve the current enrollment. I will tell you that our staff that work in there are on top of each other. They do a great job, they work hard, but I'm surprised they don't bump into each other more often. With that then, there's a lack of adequate dining space, so that would get addressed as part of the remodel. And there's currently no central commons in this building. The central commons is the hallway outside the administrative offices. We would also address the administrative offices, but they're in order to create a more secure vestibule and entrance to the building. And with that then, the current administrative offices will become more of a common space. And and I wanna be clear because it did come up somewhere along the way, it is not the district office, it's the building administration, not district administration. Somewhere that came up. That we need additional space for student services, that's counseling, mental health professionals, social workers, and special ed office type individuals that support students. The other benefit that we're looking to address is building circulation and overall layout efficiency. Oftentimes, if you're at the very end of the classrooms in the north wing, you have to come all the way down the hallway, come through, and then back up to the new addition to get to the next class. So it's not very efficient or time savings for our students as well as staff. Currently, I just want to remind folks, we do not have a classroom for every teacher in this building. We have about a half a dozen of them that are on carts that go from room to room yet. So they may be a traveling teacher that is placed in whatever room is open. So the proposed plan, District 518 residents would consider $15.3 million investment to address the challenges and maintenance that we have in our building. The key goals of the plan are to reconfigure various spaces in the high school to meet student, staff, and community needs. Additional space driven by the enrollment and building capacity. And I know there were classes of 300 back in the early 70s, but when you take 300 times 3, because there was only 3 grades in the building, that's 900 kids. We currently run about 1,100 kids in this building. So, and give or take on either side of 1,100 depending on the year. Improve building safety and security, which I mentioned with the more secure vestibule approach, going through the office to get in the building, and then address several deferred maintenance needs. So the proposed plan is to renovate a portion of the media center to address additional workspace for the district technologies department. Build a new 2-story 8 classroom addition, which would be towards the teacher parking lot off the north wing. And then renovate the existing offices and student services areas into student commons and dining area to create that bigger environment of a more open concept. Likewise, then it would connect the north wing to the new addition that was put on the north side of the gym. So there'd be an upper level connection to create more of efficient travel for the students and less crowding. As I continue on to the next part of this, you renovate and reconfigure existing classroom space to support various programming needs. Renovate and expand the kitchen servery area and reconfigure and expand the cooler, freezer, and dry storage. Currently, our coolers and freezer and dry storage were lacking space for appropriate supplies on hand. Improve several restrooms to single stalls or privacy restrooms, which doesn't exist right now, and expand the equipment storage area for the career and technical ed programs, which would be off the north of that. Relocate the administrative office and student services area to the north main entrance of the building. So where you come in off the student parking lot, that would be where the office area would move and create that secure vestibule. Address long-term facility maintenance and building finishes needs. That LTFM is long-term facility maintenance. And then the last bullet, complete fixtures, furnishing, equipment, and technology upgrades to the building. And that's not the total building, that's just the remodeled areas. So with that then, there are diagrams of this, and they're conceptual at this point. Does not mean they're finalized, it's to give everybody a visual. But basically, and it's hard to read, I apologize for that, that's why these up here exist, if you want to take a look at them. So upper right, and maybe I can do this by coming up here. The upper right is the new 8-room classroom, 4 on the bottom, 4 on the top. That's this space up here. This space would be addressing the CTE and expanding storage, as well as kitchen freezer space. And here's the kitchen expansion and creating the servery area and then the common space here. We would look to address and either reuse or upgrade the science area, that would be determined. This is the technology or IDT department. Changes that would occur. And again, this is renovating the existing office for a common space. And this is the main, I should say, this is the main floor. And then the last piece of the puzzle is this one, is changing the current restrooms up there to a single privacy stall restrooms. And this is the expansion for administrative offices and support services. Okay, so the next one is the upper level. Upper level, just so you know, this is where that expansion occurs for CTE. This little piece of the puzzle is actually the checkered part is, how I understand it, is reinforcing the existing roof or snow load. Anytime you have a second story in the lower level, you have to plan for that snow load coming over. So there'd be reinforcement there. This little piece would be open to the lower level. This piece here would be the upper level student commons area. And then, of course, I mentioned the restroom, privacy restrooms. So with the next one, if the referendum were approved, the district would invest a total of estimated $33.8 million in key educational space as well as deferred maintenance. 15.3 million would come through the voter approved if it's approved, and 18.5 million would come from district funds. Some that are in reserved or assigned dollars, and 6 million of it would come from long-term facility maintenance bonds that the board would have authority to approve. The one piece that I've really highlighted for everybody, if you want to figure out on your parcel of property what the actual estimated impact is, please consider going to the tax calculator. That's on the 518 Committed website. You can either go to the regular district website to get to that, or the 518 Committed website, which is listed there. So right now, the estimated impact, if your home in our district is valued at $200,000, the estimated impact is $4.68 a month. So one of the biggest benefits that was passed by legislature a number of years ago is the Egg to School. And it originally was about 50%, and they moved it up, and now it currently exists at 70% of a tax credit. And that's provided to agricultural property with the exception of their house, garage, and 1 acre that surrounds the agricultural homestead. Ag to school credits would pay for approximately 33% of the referendum's total debt through the debt service, which is equivalent to approximately $5 million. And that $5 million comes from all taxpayers in the state. So with that, you will be able to see the breakdown on the pie chart. The ag to school is really highlighted. The agricultural non-homestead covers 14% of it, residential homestead 23%, commercial industrial 16%, residential non-homestead, which is typically places like apartment buildings or those, would cover 9%, and then there's kind of that miscellaneous 5%. I do have to highlight there was an error on the original information that was sent out. That was it was a transfer number. The residential homestead was actually listed on the first information at 16%, but that's been corrected now. So, how do you vote? There are 3 options that you can utilize to vote. There is early absentee voting, which starts on Friday, June 28th, which is just around the corner, and it goes through Monday, August 12th. The second option is early absentee by mailing, and it's the same dates that are there, or you can choose to vote on election day, which is August 13th, and that's the primary election date. And there are some differences in our district on the voting information, which you can't read, but if you go to the next slide, residents, for example, that live in the city of Bigelow or township, all those townships, will vote by mail-in ballot. The county sends those out, you send them back. They are not forwarded, so if you move, they won't be forwarded on to you. Ballot, and it says that right there. I always tell everybody, if you have a question about the election and you're voting, please call the county auditor's office. They will very much help you get that cleared up. If you don't know your voting site, you can go to their site. They will tell you where that is, but it's, your voting sites are the same as the general election. So if you vote at Lakeside Church for a general election, that's where you would vote for this. And I'm not sure that one's totally right, but all mail-in ballots, it says, must be received no later than 8 p.m. Tuesday, August 13th. But I would tell you, if you're gonna do your mail-in ballots, don't wait till the last minute, please. So, with that, again, the website is where you can get a lot of information. We have a number of people that are utilizing the website to get this very same type of information. We put out social media, which is on Facebook and Instagram, different messages, or you can always choose to contact me and I will try and answer your question. Again, I will remind everybody, our job is not to say vote yes or no. Our job is to provide facts. It's your job to determine yes or no. So with that, opportunity for questions. I know I wasn't that good. You gotta have some questions.
What is the estimated change in the enrollment over the next 10 years?
I don't have 10 years out. The next 3 to 4 is stable. It goes up or down about anywhere from 30 to 50 housing. So if we have more housing or new housing or additional housing, it's based on business environment. So if there are new business to the community, typically means more, the need for more employees. Current business expansion, or the last one is open enrollment. And that plays a significant, it can go up and down based on the open enrollment. And currently, right now, we have more resident students that open enroll out than we have students coming in, except our data will show that we have more coming in because of our online school. We currently had about 600 students this current year, and we anticipate being up to about 800 next year.
On 5.
In 5, correct. Good question. Any,
I have a question. Do you see open lunch continuing for the upper grades even with the schedule changes that are happening? Will there still be an opportunity as those changes make some the classroom times shorter and more classes? Or is that going to have to end because of that? And then now, do we really have enough space?
so, the question comes about the open lunchtime for our juniors and seniors. And I anticipate that that would probably continue. But I think a lot of people would be surprised at the number of juniors and seniors that actually currently stay to eat. It's much higher than it used to be,
20 years ago.
well, even 5 years ago. When it became free lunches that the legislature passed, it's amazing how many more kids are eating here. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of kids, particularly seniors, like to run to the local fast food place and get something. They think it's neat, particularly at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
But it's not cheap eating out anymore,
No.
as all of us know. It's a lot cheaper to stay in school and get a free lunch. So I don't anticipate it going away for juniors and seniors.
I just know that my upcoming junior has said, I plan on leaving because there's nowhere to eat. And I understand that. There was nowhere to eat when I was a junior, and it hasn't changed.
And it's tight, yep,
Yep.
absolutely.
We have expanded out to more of the commons area too. In the
Okay.
past, we had high top tables out there, and in the past, we didn't allow that. But since we do have more students, so high top tables can accommodate another 40 students or so. So we do have students that are able to come out in that area, and they think that's pretty
And
cool.
you currently have 3 lunch schedules.
Yes, we have 3 lunch schedules, and that would continue. We'd always have to have 3 lunch schedules getting through approximately 800 to 900 students, like Mr. Langard said.
Yes.
The cost of students going out to eat has dramatically changed the view of, hey, it's really expensive to leave to go get lunch now, where they stay more.
I just want to make sure that with the schedule changes, that is being put into consideration as well. That the school, we have enough space for our kids to eat.
Absolutely. And I anticipate based on this, it will be roughly 40% more space for them to utilize to eat. And
I would say like all the other schools, it's gonna be tight for a little while anyway, so just
Yeah.
as it is.
And if this were to pass, the next 2 years will be a little bit challenging because it has to be done in stages. Any other questions? Yes?
This is a pretty long list of items to change.
I'm sorry.
Nope. Okay, so this is a really long list of changes that you want to make. Do you have a proposal or do you have any guidance at a more granular level for the cost of these individual pieces instead of just this lump sum?
So, many of you don't know, Chris Zemer, who from ICS, who works with the district, is considered the owner's rep. He helped put a lot of this information together, so I'll let him answer that. The answer is yes, we have it more broke down, but
Yes, there is a wider range of scope actually than what it was actually determined for the referendum ultimately, so we do have areas broken down so that we know roughly what's allocated per area, but again, it's a diagram that gives us an exercise so we are able to cost it. That doesn't mean that after the referendum, we can make tweaks accordingly based on the needs of the school.
You can, after.
There is flexibility to do that to some degree.
So these proposed changes aren't necessarily locked in. The dollar amount you're locking in, but.
Dollar amounts locked in, the kitchen, the commons, expanding the cafeteria area, the addition, those are probably givens. Now what they end up looking like, there's freedom there as we get into the design. There'll be a series of meetings that starts if this passes with teacher input, staff input as we go through each space before we even put pen to paper.
And I presume you have a context then as well, so that doesn't, priority list?
Priority list, I'd call it, not necessarily a cut list, but that's,
Did you get insight into that at all, or not so much?
it would have just been more renovation of existing space is really what the cut was. The appetite for that extra cost was where that cut was made.
And, sorry.
No, you're fine.
So, and this priority list, so what you've got and what remains, do we get insight into that? So,
I guess most of that's listed already, so, I mean, there's nothing hidden in the scope list, so what's shown is the scope.
What's the cost of each portion that you're gonna be doing, more itemized out versus, here's the lump sum, this is what we wanna do, but what's the cost gonna be for moving the administrative office? What's the cost of that? What's the cost of just the lunchroom portion? Something more itemized out, and how about give an option of some of it and not all of it? Cause I don't think all of it is needed.
So part of the process is we had to submit a review and comment to the state of Minnesota Department of Education. As an appendix to that, there is the breakdown that you're talking about. It's probably second or third last page, somewhere in there. And then it shows these diagrams that are listed, so that is the scope of the referendum. That's what MDE's approved, that's what the question is built around.
so, Lon, I saw you had it.
Well, my question kind of goes to the brick and mortar portion. I know that, we just commented that our kids would have died to have a band room like this when they were going to school here. Beautiful addition, wonderful addition to the school. Goes without saying that, it was a plus plus all the way. But given that, we've added to this building numerous times. What do we look at down the road in the near future, if more expansion needs to happen? Do we have infrastructure in place to allow that to happen without major expenditures and additions to that? And I'm talking about utilities now, I'm talking because I was an electrician in the construction business, so I know that, electricity and water and all of those kind of things, sewer, reach a capacity at some point in time. So what are we looking at in the future?
So the placement of the actual addition was chosen because we can get new water lines if needed there, and electrical feeders actually run down that corridor. So the infrastructure was thought of in terms of future expansion, if ever needed. You'd expand off that addition with extra classrooms, there's room to keep going. And then we'd look at parking solutions beyond that in the future.
That was the next question. We work quite often volunteering to help out with basketball tournaments and the like. And parking definitely is an issue when all of our out-of-towners come to watch their kids play games. I just know that some people come in, especially on the south entry, they say, I had to walk 3 blocks to get here.
My answer to them is how
This is much cheaper.
And it's free parking.
But the student parking is not.
We're all spoiled because we all like to park next to the front door. And I'm just as guilty as anybody. But yet I'll go to the Vikings game and walk a dozen blocks just to save $5 on the parking. Any other questions?
John, if I could just follow up to the comment about how the decision was made on what to do. In the school board, we had options in front of us as to what scope to follow, how much to do of the recommendations. And there's multiple choices. We chose the one that includes everything you see in front of you. There were options that had a lot less, but we as a board chose to select the one that appears to move the district forward and covers a lot of the projects needed going forward today.
I think the original, what Matt's referring, when the work sessions went on and what went on, the original price tag was closer to that $40 million number. And it might even been over 40, and so there was things whittled away to ensure we could get it down to something workable and being able to be potentially supported by taxpayers.
I'm trying to add to that too, that the list that we got came from staff and from the community input, saying that we can use a little bit more for this program or some other program or within the district itself. We looked at actually other potential projects and stuff that are outside of the high school building also that are on our list of things to do that we need to improve upon or expand upon. And some of those projects were left behind, and we pretty much were concentrating on the high school itself. A lot of the things we're doing now were things that would have been addressed with a new high school when we proposed that, but since that we didn't go forward with that for the community, we're coming back now to the high school and say, okay, we identified these issues that would have been taken care of before, and now we're trying to take care of them now, and we're concentrating on primarily the high school to do those things. That doesn't mean that that's the end of things that we probably have on a laundry list of things that have to be kept up and improved upon or expanded in some cases. It's just that, this school was a priority, so we phased it down to concentrate pretty much on the high school.
And there is a district action plan that has been developed and utilized probably since 2012. Some things keep moving down the list while others get accomplished, but it's a running list of priorities that can happen or need to be addressed at some time. Whether it's a baseball field or a softball field or soccer fields or an addition on the building or a roof.
Yeah, I guess you guys talked about all the different projects. There were things we decided you didn't wanna make it too big, but we do have 18 million saved up or kind of in some general funds or different places. If this didn't pass, would we still move forward with expanding the cafeteria or adding, we could piecemeal reprioritize again or not really?
That would be up to the board. Yes, with some dollars in the bank, they maybe can address some things along with long-term facility maintenance bonds. They may be able to move some of it forward. But again, that will be the board's decision of if they want to move forward with expending some of those funds.
Yeah, cause like he mentioned, the band room, the parking lot, there have been enhancements, and yeah, tech department, they're just all over each other, and it's crowded, and it's not very easy, so, yeah, things have evolved, so it's not workable the way it is now.
Could you clarify how the $6 million in deferred maintenance does not have a tax impact on the district?
Long-term facility maintenance bond actually lowers the tax impact on ag land. It doesn't necessarily for anything else, but just ag land. And it has give you the example, on a $13,000 value per acre piece of property, I think the tax impact, please look it up, but I think it's like $1.21. And the LTFM bonds, if they were sold, I think gives a decrease of 77 cents. So the actual impact on, or 71 cents, something like that, it actually lowers the tax impact on that $13,000 value property to 44 cents or 45 cents. The way that works, you're getting into how that whole formula stuff is complicated, but the nice part is, as I've said to future board or future administrators, they need to do another 10-year facility maintenance to get to the full life of this bond. This bond that the voters will consider is 20 years.
It shows on your thing that you put out that there was no tax impact on residential homes, commercial, or on anything, except there was a negative, or positive deal on, where did the rest of the money come from on that? Who's paying for it, if it isn't the district people?
I'll go back to Chris, he'll give you a better answer.
So it's because of the egg to school credit, because you're bonding for it, that rule kicks in. And as a result, the taxpayers of the entire state are paying for a portion, that's why your taxes are actually going down. It's a technicality of bonding for the 6 million rather than just using your annual LTFM to get things done.
So our,
I know it's confusing, but it's the mechanism that kicks in when you bond for LTFM dollars. And you're basically paying for there's no tax impact because you're paying the bond payment out of your annual LTFM funding that you're getting already.
so,
Clear as mud.
so really, we levy, let's just say $1 million in LTFM every year. Basically, half of that levy would go, so 500,000 would go to make that bond payment. So that's why there's no tax impact on a home or commercial, but because of it, the aid to school, the state kicks in the other portion to support the aid to school.
Basically, it's gonna come out of the general fund then, but the taxpayers do pay.
The LTFM bond or levy, we have levied the same amount for years.
That's it, the taxpayers do pay it.
On the LTFM,
Yeah. Basically, what you're saying is there's no additional impact, not that there's no impact, there's no additional impact,
correct.
which is a big difference between no additional impact and no impact at all. There's a big difference between the two.
Additional questions?
Mr. Landard, could you clarify how, ag land owners benefit by this project being funded by a bond referendum versus lease levy money if this referendum didn't pass, but the project moved forward as proposed?
Yeah, so lease through what happens is, and it's really primarily ag land that's the major effect on a lease levy. The $5 million that the state would pay would now go on ag land. So that's the primary difference, utilizing a lease levy to move this project forward. Costs the ag land folks a great deal more than the voter approved approach. The board overall has been very resistant to use lease levy because it becomes a $5 million extra cost at Agland. Any last question?
Just a comment.
Sure.
In one of the bullets you had there on the screen, it showed the relocation of the admin offices here. And one of the bylines was to improve security. Can you tell me how that is going to impact the south entrance?
Well, currently right now our doors on the north and south side, well, all the doors are locked when students are here. What it does allow for currently is people, they have to buzz in. So it's not only a convenience, but it's also they have to pass through the office to get in the building on the south entrance. So moving that out forces people to go through the office, check in, be accounted for versus the other. It's not gonna improve the security on the north end whatsoever, other than what we're currently doing.
And that's mainly student access.
The student access is primarily on the north side.
And they use their card to get in unless they're all coming in at the same time.
Well, I volunteer as a greeter every Thursday here at the high school, and I can tell you that the students are not using their cards. They're rapping on the door saying, let me in, and, some kind person lets them in, and, security is not real tight here.
Can I add, thank you. Once it's 8:10 though, the doors are locked, there's no one that's gonna let them in, so they do have to get buzzed in. So security at 7:55 to 8:10, yes, the students are in and out, it is a little more free. We do encourage our students to use their cards. The front loop is for the buses, so they do come through that way, yes. When one student comes through, 20 students come in behind them. After 8:10, the doors are locked, they have to buzz to get, that comes to the office, and then that's how we let them in. I think there would be, I think if we did have the security coming through, with the new addition, I think there would be minimal entrance into the south. I think that would be, we'd probably have signage and ask our visitors to come through the office. I've been at other schools where there's one point of entry. That's what I think we need to have, is one point of entry. So we have it more controlled. If you come in this building, either north or south, and you don't know the building very well, you don't know where the office is, and it's not as controlled. We can control the doors. People just don't know where the offices are until they know this building. So I think having that security would increase security in this building.
It's a good answer, thank you.
Thank you.
So Prairie is just like that as well. Prairie Elementary is the same way. You can get in multiple doors in the very beginning of the day, and at the end of the day, we are exiting many doors because we don't all fit to leave all out of one door. But during the day, there's one point of entrance, and it is much better. I remember an instance where there was a medical emergency, and it was very nice to have that one point of entrance. No one could come in or out until that was handled, and it does make life a lot easier.
Any more?
If anyone would want to have a tour of the building, and I could show you, or someone in the office could show you the affected sites that we are proposing, I'd gladly give you a tour. I know the board members, earlier, most of them were able to come through and see, and so they have a good knowledge of what the building needs are. So if you or anyone wants a tour of the building, we'd be more than willing to do that as well.
So we said we'd go till 8:30, but I'm not gonna keep you like class till the last minute. One thing I will tell you is I appreciate those of you who show up, because typically this is a minimal participation, so thank you for coming out and participating and learning more about the referendum. Because I've been in these where there's been 1 or 2 people here. So appreciate having people wanting to learn more about what's being proposed. So with that, I want to thank you for coming and have a good rest of your evening. If you want, I'll remind you, there's those up there, please stop. And there's flyers out there. There also is a business card with a QR code. I don't use them, but many of you are more techie than I am maybe. That'll take you right to the website. So have a good evening. Thank you.